Welcome back to Capitol Tonight. Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand is seeking a third full term as U.S. Senator from New York. But first, she's got to go through Mike Sapraicone. Sapraicone is a former New York City police detective who currently runs a private security firm called Squad Security. He is also the Republicans' pick to challenge Gillibrand in November, and he joins us tonight on the show. Great to see you.
Well, great to be here. Thank you so much.
Very
Susan.
nice to meet you. I'm talking to you beforehand and, about your life on Long Island and as a New York City police detective, and you own your own security firm that's doing very well. You're doing great. Why do you want to go to Washington?
Well, as a police officer for 20 years, I think it's important to give back to things and work and help people. And I did that. I enjoyed that so much for 20 years. And when I left the police department, I opened up this company where I employed over 800 retired and active law enforcement officers. And I think it's important to give back. I sit on many boards, as we talked about, and I think education is important, to give scholarships and help. I've been very lucky and very blessed over my time. And so I think it's important to give back. And I think this is another opportunity. I think timing is important. I think this is an opportunity to give a little bit back to New York State and to this country.
All right, so let me ask you a little bit about your political history. The Republican Party has changed somewhat, a lot under former President Donald Trump, who seems to prefer MAGA candidates, okay? That said, he is backing your candidacy, and you are considered a moderate by many. In fact, you've even donated to Democrats, including the current sitting Attorney General. Even though Trump has backed you, do you think MAGA voters are going to overlook your contributions to Democrats?
Oh, I think they will. And I look at my contributions as a businessman. And President Trump and I have discussed this, okay? And he was a business person also.
Yeah.
And I think in this state, unfortunately, you have to go work with both sides. And not just the state, but most states. And being owning a business in New York City and Long Island throughout the years.
Pragmatic.
It is. It's just the way you do business. It's just something that's expected. And over the 30 years in business, I've given a lot of money to the Republican Party, to the Conservative Party, and to the Democratic Party. It's just a way of doing business, like I said.
Do you think that the hush money trial that Trump is facing in Manhattan is legitimate?
I don't. I think if he wasn't running for president and he was just an everyday person, I don't even think we'd be hearing about this or seeing about this. It's kind of absurd just the way this is all going on and how much, I think probably the publicity is helping him and encouraging him more than it's hurting him.
What's your take on the other indictments Trump is facing, including that scheme to conceal classified documents? Okay, let me ask you this. Is there anything in the 98 indictments that Trump is facing that you consider to be legitimate?
Well, as an old detective and working with district attorneys, you can pretty much indict a ham sandwich in this, not just this city, this state, but this country. So I would think the prosecutors can pretty much do what they want until we get down to the nitty gritty. I think when all this wash is over with, I think we'll see nothing going on anyway here.
What if he's convicted? Will that change your tune?
I don't think so. I don't think he'll be convicted. I think,
even as somebody who's worked within the Justice Department.
I've seen a lot worse things. Look at what's going on with bail reform. The people we're letting out of jail every single day, beating up police officers and coming in here illegally, squatters in houses. I think this is all a ruse. I think it's all silliness. I think we'll get way past this.
I want to ask you about some issues that you'll likely be asked about on the campaign trail.
I hope there'll be easy issues you could ask me about.
These are pretty basic issues. So on guns and the Second Amendment, what is your position on background checks for firearms purchases?
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with background checks. I think that's important. As an ex-detective,
there's nothing wrong with background checks.
I think everybody should agree background checks are fair. I don't think we should ever take away our rights to bear arms. I think that's important. I think we've earned that right through the Constitution, and we should be able to keep that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with checking the people that get weapons. I think that's fair. A lot of people may not agree with that when it comes to the Second Amendment. I would never stop and do anything against the Second Amendment, but I think background checks are pretty important.
What about a ban on assault weapons?
No, assault weapons, automatic weapons have been banned forever in this country, in this state. I think semi-automatics have a purpose. I think
usually to kill people.
Well, in some cases, but as I've traveled this state, I probably look at things differently than I look at in New York City. When I see a person with a gun or any type of weapon, probably 99% of those people are bad people looking to hurt and kill people. Up here, as we get, and I'm still not upstate, but as you get to North Country and everything, you learn that there's reasons that people are protecting their land, their property, their investments, and the police officers don't respond like we do in New York City within 2.5 minutes. There's a big difference here. So I understand it. I agree with it. I think you have the right to bear your arms, and I think we should always keep that.
I'm going to ask you about abortion now. If you were a senator from New York and a vote came up to ban the procedure, how would you vote?
Yeah, I would never vote for a national ban on abortion.
Why?
I think abortion is wrong. I think what we do here in New York State is wrong. I think that we need to look at the situation. It's very hard. I have 4 daughters. It's very hard to be able to say, this is it, this is the way the law is. But I do believe that abortion is not right. I would never vote for a ban on abortion. But I think we do here in New York, as far as being a little liberal, where you can have an abortion right up to the moment of birth almost. I think that's terrible.
If the doctor says it's necessary.
Well, I don't know if we always go by those things. I don't know if we use it, if we don't always follow the rules the way they are. I think it's something that's certainly going to be looked at over the course of the next several years.
So you have 4 daughters. Have you talked about the abortion issue with them?
I try to talk to my daughters about everything. You know how hard it is talking to 4 daughters, and they go from the age of 42 to 40 all the time. I happened to be at the Federation of Republican Women today, and it's kind of like being home. It was very interesting. But my daughters talk about the subjects and how they feel, and I got to tell you, out of the 4 of them, they each have different opinions today and a different opinion tomorrow. And 2 are married, 2 aren't married, 2 have children, 2 don't have children. And I think what I find with young people is I don't find them to take ownership in a lot of things right now, and I don't mean that in a terrible way.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think they look at things and they say, how's it going to be tomorrow, and what's the situation tomorrow? I think they don't appreciate what a solid thought is, and that's terrible the way it's coming out. But I just think younger people don't always take ownership in things. And I think my daughters change their mind back and forth, and I think I've tried to teach them over the years that you need to take a stance and be solid with that stance and move forward with that.
So are we going to see you again up here?
Oh, I hope so. I'd love to come up here. This is great. I didn't realize what a great I knew a great state, but what a big state New York is.
It is.
And
yeah.
being a downstate person, it's completely different. But it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Mike Sapraicone. He's a former New York City police detective. He currently runs a private security firm, and he's the Republican pick to challenge Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand in November. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate it.